Good evening to all of those joining us live. I am Mikhail Bullard, your moderator for this evening and Vice Chair of Communication for the Bahamian American Association of the Washington, D.C. and Mid-Atlantic region, affectionately known as BAMAR. BAMAR is the local diaspora association that principally serves the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area with the goals of connecting and creating community for Bahamians and Bahamian Americans, promoting Bahamian culture in the region, and collaborating with people and institutions to provide support for Bahamians and the Bahamas. Our watchwords are connection, collaboration, culture, and community. And what connects us as Bahamians at home and at abroad is our belief that we are from the greatest little country on the planet. And a big part of how that is reflected is in how much we as a small country punch above our weight in sports. The Bahamas is the home of world-class athletic talent, which is reflected in the common Bahamian social media hashtag 242 to the world. We recently got double gold at the Olympics, which had Bahamians everywhere correctly claiming that we won the Olympics. In basketball, we've borne witness this season to the MVP caliber play of Jonquel Jones. We had a Bahamian, DeAndre Ayton, as the starting center for one of the two teams contending for the NBA championship. And we had another first-round Bahamian pick in the NBA draft with Kay Jones. And in baseball, we have had Rookie of the Year caliber exploits from Jazz Chisholm with the Marlins. And all of that is why we wanted to have this conversation today on expanding opportunities for leveraging Bahamian talent in sports. We are honored to have as our panelists three Bahamian trailblazers across the sports of track and field, baseball, and basketball. First, we have Debbie Ferguson-McKenzie, the assistant track and field coach at the University of Kentucky and the Olympic gold medalist. And because I am an alumni, I have to highlight that you are also a St. Andrews alumni as well. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Mikhail, for having me, and hello, everyone.
Next, we have Antoan Richardson. He is the first base coach for the San Francisco Giants and a former Major League Baseball player. And I would be remiss if I did not extend congratulations to you, Antoan, as coach of the Giants. You guys have turned things around and are now one of the best teams in baseball and the first team this year to have a playoff berth. So congrats, Antoan, and welcome.
Thank you, Mikhail. Thanks for having me. Hello to everybody out there watching.
And last but certainly not least, Yolett McPhee-McCuin, affectionately known as Coach Yo, coach of the University of Mississippi's Division I women's basketball team. Welcome, Coach Yo.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for joining us this evening as panelists. And we want to thank all of you who are watching us live. Please feel free to post your comments and questions for our panelists, and we will try to get to a few of them before the end of the session. So let's jump right in. So while you, Debbie, Antoan, and Coach Yo, you are each Bahamian legends in your own right. But we do want to start our conversation today getting to know you all just a little bit better. So the first question for you all, how did you initially get started with your sport, and what was that moment that you realized that you were a top-level talent at what you do? Debbie, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you very much. So basically, it was elementary school, and I remember my PE teacher, Miss Andrea Lockhart. She said she saw me in PE and she thought I had some speed. And so she basically introduced me to Mr. Frank Pantoraming. But in order for me to be able to attempt to try and train with them, Mr. Raming had to met with my mom and got permission because my mom, she didn't care about all that. All she cared about was my grades. And so I started, the deal was to keep my grades up. And that's the only way I was able to participate on a part of the club. And so that's how I actually started. I wasn't the fastest, but she said I had some talent, and I just took time and grew from there. I think the motivation was for me at the Carifta level. I realized, okay, so I'm from Nassau, a 7 by 21 miles. I get a chance to qualify for the Carifta Games. And I'm thinking, okay, I could travel to Trinidad, Cayman, Jamaica. Okay, those were my incentive to make those teams. And that's how it all started.
Okay, Antoan?
Yeah, great question. It all started for me back in Nassau at the local baseball leagues at Freedom Farm. So that's where I got introduced to the sport. But going to St. Anne's and playing on the softball team, and actually I'd be remiss not to talk about my good friend. His name is Brian Umbrista. He actually is the one that introduced me to the sport, because I used to try and run track and field. wasn't as good as Debbie, but and he's like, hey man, you should come out and try play some baseball. So my good friend back in the day, he introduced me to the sport. Went to Freedom Farm, where I kind of learned the game a little bit more. And then from there on, I just kind of kept getting opportunities to play the game some more. I got an offer to go to school when I was 14 in Florida. And then from there, junior college, professionally. And the part of your question is like, when did I realize that I had the talent? The real answer to that is I never realized it, and I think that was my driving force, is just recognizing that, like, hey man, like, you just got to continue to get after it and continue to be better. And I think even now, like in my role now, is just continuing to be in that learning mindset and recognizing that it's just so much more to grow and so much more areas to get better at. So yeah, so I don't know if I ever recognized I had the talent. I think I was always trying to catch up with everybody else, like little brother, big brother.
Okay, got you. And Coach Yo?
Yeah, when I heard you say, when did you realize you're a part of the elite talent? I said, well, he ain't talking to me. He must be talking to Debbie and Antoan, because that question ain't for me. So I got to the part that I can handle. My as many know, but if you don't, my father is a basketball legend in the Bahamas. So I learned my passion for the game, my passion for giving back from him and my mom. My mom was the principal of my high school. I watched her work her way up from a typewriting teacher to in the administrative level, and my dad was my high school coach. But I had my own aspirations to be a CEO in corporate America, and now I'm a CEO, but in athletics. So it all worked itself out. As for me, my college coach told me that I should get into coaching, and so that is why I dipped my toe in the water, so to speak, and loved it. Found it to be my ministry. To be able to help young people, and just something that I'm extremely passionate about. I can tell you this, Mikhail. I realized I was at the top level when I was sitting next in a head coaches meeting. And in the head coaches meeting, there are 14 coaches in the SEC. Well, 8 of them have been in the Final Four, and 5 of them had won a national championship. That's when I realized, when I looked to my left and my right, I was like, yeah, I'm in the right place. And so it's inspiring for me, and I'm just blessed to be among those coaches that are considered legendary in the game.
Definitely, and I know you think, Coach Yo, that you're not an elite talent like Debbie or Antoine, but each of you have been trailblazers in your careers. Bahamians everywhere can remember that feeling watching Debbie anchor the Olympic 4x1 team at the Sydney Olympics. Besides that, Debbie, you have participated in 5 Olympics. You have 52 international medals. You obviously had that dominant stretch between 1999 and 2002. Antoine, you were the first Bahamian to coach in Major League Baseball. You have had memorable moments as well as a player on the Yankees. And Coach Yo, you mentioned, realizing that you arrived when you sat around that table. You've been the first Bahamian woman to commit to play Division I basketball in the U.S. and the first woman to coach at your universities. So you've certainly been a trailblazer in your own right. You've had that historic season last year, had Ole Miss knocking on the door of the big dance. So can you guys take a moment just to talk about what you each consider to be the crowning points so far in your professional careers? Coach Yo, I'll start with you.
Sure. I've had a fair amount of success in my coaching. I've been coaching for about 17 years, but probably the most impactful thing that I felt that I've been a part of was last year, helping change the flag in the state of Mississippi. So in the state of Mississippi, the flag had a Confederate symbol in it. And so for decades, Mississippians have been fighting to change this flag so that it can represent all of Mississippi, not just the heritage of the majority white Mississippian. And I was like in the front lines of it. And so I myself, along with a lot of my colleagues in the state, we went down to the Capitol and we met with the legislators. We met with the decision makers and stated our case on why we feel the flag should be changed. And that's how powerful sports is, because these people have been, I'm almost embarrassed to say I had a part because it shouldn't have taken athletics for it to get there. But that is the power in athletics. And our commissioner of the SEC was like, if y'all don't change this flag, y'all ain't playing no championships in the state. But when I tell you in a week, that flag was changed. So just being there, and my players were so proud of me, to see me out in the front lines. And my daughters, I have one that's 9 and 4. They don't get it, but I know later on when I show them that picture, it's going to mean a lot to them. So that's probably the most impactful thing, more than any gold medals, any championships we've won. It would be that.
Wow, that's real change, real transformative stuff. Antoan?
Yeah, I think along the journey, the most memorable thing for me is it's like I'm after a bunch of like 3 things in here because that's the 3 that stand out, and they just all involve Bahamians, right? So the first one was me and it's another player. His name is Albert Cartwright. We got a chance to play in a spring training game together, and that was like really awesome because I just remember when I started in professional baseball. I think there was one other guy, and his name was Angelo Burrows, and he was from Grand Bahama and really inspired me. And so just to be able to take a field with another Bahamian in that setting was truly inspiring. And then the next moment was in 2016 or 17, a group of us Bahamians, we got an opportunity to play in the World Baseball Classic under the Great Britain flag. But just we took the field, and I think it was 8 of us in the starting line, about a 9. And it was just a really amazing feeling to like, one, represent something bigger than yourself, but to take it with like other Bahamians and being able to like put our talent on display and kind of put our country on display, even though we were playing under the Great Britain flag, was something I really, really cherish. And then the last moment was every year baseball recognizes Jackie Robinson Day. And this year, we were playing the Marlins when we had Jackie Robinson Day, and to be able to share the field with Jazz was a really special moment that I'll just never forget. And you kind of think through all the hardships of getting to the major leagues as a player, and then I was a coach, and being able to share it with a young man I've seen come up through the system and grow is something that I just will never kind of leave my heart. So those are three moments that really stood out to me in this whole journey so far.
Okay, that's good stuff, man. And Debbie?
Like Antoan, I do have several, but I'm going to just say the one that's been the most impactful for me And it had to have been 2000 Olympic Games. It's amazing how my experience at the 96 Olympics, I was there and I was more in tune about getting autograph and meeting all the different older athletes and those who were more talented, the basketball players and the tennis players. And in 2000, I made my first Olympic as far as with the finals in the 100 and 200. And the irony was in the 100 meter, I made the final, the youngest individual on the team, but I got 8th in the 100 meter. And then Marion Joan had won the 100 meter at that time, and she won by maybe like 20 meters. And so then we got together as, a part of the relay team with Savathita, Chandra, Pauline, and myself. And, it was one of those where, you're scared, you're afraid. However, I remember just like praying about it right before the race, just saying, Lord, just take the wheel. And I remember thinking, and this sounds really weird, but I remember thinking, if I fail my Bahamian people, I cannot go home. That's how much pride that it was. I didn't think of it at the time, but I mean, it sounded kind of crazy, but I didn't think of it then, but that's the pride. And I just remember like turning everything off, and it went quiet. There was 110,000 people in the stadium, but in my head, it was quiet. And the gun went off for Savathita, and I was watching. Then Chandra got to the stick, and then I remember, okay, time to focus. So when Pauline gets around, I'll be able to, to receive the baton. And I remember Pauline just was able to get the stick and came around, and I think I got the stick from Pauline, and I heard nothing. I try to explain to people where it's one of those where I know I'm running fast, but running, it was in slow motion. It's almost like I could have stood outside my body and just watched myself run, which was really weird. But when we crossed that line and we realized that we actually won, oh man, it was pretty special, because it wasn't just for us. It was for the Bahamas, like first as far as the relay gold. And it was just something pretty special. And even more so afterwards, when we came home, like it didn't matter if you were black, white, poor, rich, from Grantstown. I grew up in Grantstown to, I'm just saying, the Wintons or out west, out east, it didn't matter. Like we were all Bahamian and we were all proud. And so that just changed everything, not just for me as a Bahamian and an ambassador, to actually go and strive for more and realize that you can do more, you can accomplish more. And it's never okay to like settle. So that really helped me mature individually for me as an athlete, but also as a country, like we became one, and that was really awesome.
Yeah, I can definitely remember where I was. I know many Bahamians can when they were watching. With the time difference, everything, it just made it a special moment. And definitely you had 400,000 Bahamians, not only home, across wherever we were pulling for you guys, and we were so proud. That definitely was one of the iconic moments in recent Bahamian sports history. You guys are all now coaches at the highest level of your sports. What has been the most rewarding aspect of your career as a coach?
Well, y'all know BTC Wi-Fi.
You went out for a second, Mikhail.
Okay, sorry about that. I said that the question was that that you all are coaches at the highest level of your sports. So the question was, what has been the most rewarding aspect of being of your career as a coach so far? So we'll start with you, Antoan.
Yeah. So it's been short. It's been a short career so far. But ultimately, it's being able to kind of like impact lives, right? It's being able to help athletes reach to their full potential on and off the field. And so, like, I think anytime, like, you get a player and you're able to help them kind of discover something more about themselves, and it comes to fruition, it's like really, really fulfilling. But one of the most exciting things I get to do now is actually when I go back home, I work with like these 10 and 12-year-olds back home, and like just watching them grow and having excitement about the game is like actually the things that really makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, man. So like at the end of the season, when I get a chance to go back home and kind of work with the young people and share some of the knowledge is what I really live for.
Okay, and Coach Joe?
Yeah, probably the same. I think all of us get into the profession to, my motto is to teach, develop, and inspire young people. So just to see them accomplish leaps and bounds. I've coached 2 Bahamians now. So that's been a joy. That's a lot of pressure, but definitely a joy. Sometimes, boy, definitely a joy. To see them be able to create their own way. Like Val right now is playing in Spain, and Shalonda was playing overseas as well. So that's the greatest gift for me. Just seeing young people accomplish their goals. Like I was invited to 2 of my players' weddings this past summer. Um, those are the things that we live for as coaches more than the wins. Life wins.
Amen. And Debbie?
Like Coach Yo and Coach Antoan, I am absolutely there because, as you said, when you could get the invite to the baby shower and the weddings and everything else, you just not was only a coach, but a mentor and everything. But there's one moment that actually stood out for me specifically. And when I started coaching in the college environment, so I was actually in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Coach Yo. And so we had an athlete there. He started off as a walk-on. His name is Randy McCoy. And I remember when I got there, he was just so excited because he thought that, okay, look at all the accolades that you have. He was going to believe in me, and whatever I said, he thought it was gospel. I said, okay, well, I love the fact that he was coachable. And I said, look, it's not going to be easy, but here's what I want you to do. Just always be honest with me, and I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to have our ups and downs, our setbacks and whatever, but, always believe what you put in, you're going to get out of it. And, the good Lord will reward everything that you've tried to do. And so I remember he started training. And that one particular year that I stayed at Southern Miss, we've had setbacks, but he never gave up. The irony was, I love these irony things because I always said, I started coaching hurdles. I never ran hurdles in my life. And at the time, I didn't know how to coach hurdles, but I knew how to coach speed. And so I was very honest with him. I said, look, we're going to do a lot of recording and we're going to look back to see, at the angles and stuff like that, slow stuff down on the hurdling side for the technique. And, he's like, okay, coach, no problem. Thanks for being honest with me. Let's see what happens. And can you believe it, at least for indoor and then outdoor? This was the first time he qualified for the NCAA indoor championship, and also the first time he qualified for the NCAA outdoor championship. But for our conference at the time, we were in Conference USA. The young man went to break the conference record indoor. And it's just brought us together where we're saying, you see how good God is? You don't have to be the best of whatever you're doing. You don't have to be the greatest of whatever you think you're doing. You just have to sometimes be obedient. And because of his obedience, like he was able to break the school record and he broke the conference record. And I mean, just from his journey starting off as a walk-on, that was very special for me. And knowing the fact that I had no idea what I was doing, but the Lord was guiding us. and he made it happen. So that was really special for me.
Yeah, that's a word for all of us today. Be obedient and you'll prosper, right? So I want to get into the kind of nitty gritty of the today's topic: how we can expand opportunities for Bahamians across your respective sports. And first off, I want us to kind of talk about the recent and emerging Bahamian talent in track and field and baseball and basketball, and what their success means for the future of Bahamians across your various sports. So start with you. We talked already about Jonquel Jones, DeAndre Ayton, Kay Jones, yet Buddy Hield, who looks like he wants to challenge Steph Curry for top shooter in the NBA. What, in your view, is the kind of state of basketball talent from the Bahamas?
What's that last part, Mikhail?
Just talk a little bit about the state of basketball and the talent, the state of basketball talent in the Bahamas from your view.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plethora of talent back home, and it's raw talent, and that's what makes it so unique, because it's stuff that cannot be taught. Bahamians are, I feel like God just sprinkled a little bit of athleticism and speed and just that it factor that we have. And so what it shows is them having success is that it is possible for anyone from our small island to be able to come over and achieve greatness. And I can tell you in my sport, I'm sure it's the same with track and baseball. In America, they start so young. Like my daughter's in under 12 soccer right now. Like I feel like it's the biggest scam in the world, because we're paying all this money for training and but it's intense. And I can't wait till we get to talk about how we can make the Bahamas better, because I'm gonna touch on that a little bit. But the exposure is there. The only thing that is difficult right now is it seems as if in basketball that you cannot reach the level that you want to reach unless you leave home and train over in the US. I'm one of the few that graduated from, like, I graduated from Grand Bahama Catholic High School and went and played Division I basketball. It's become more challenging in a lot of ways. So there are ways and there are opportunities that I can't wait to dive in about. And hopefully, I would like to see a lot of people that have power invest in it, so that, because not everybody's going to be able to go away, but we have enough talent at home. So it's complicated. I didn't want to really. I have more to say on what we need to do versus. But I
Gotcha.
do talk to all those guys. Kai, Buddy, Jonquel. Like, we are like a family. We're a community. If I'm in their area or they in my area, they always link up. We always link up. And that's why I'm proud to be Bahamian.
Definitely. And Debbie, we saw Stephen Gardner and Shawnee Miller-Weebo kind of reconfirm to everybody that they were the class of their fields at the Olympics. What's your kind of assessment of the state of track and field talent in the Bahamas?
Well, without a doubt, we have the talent. I would like to agree with Coach Yo. Unfortunately, we feel that at this point, that the athletes have to come out of the Bahamas and mostly based in the state, or possibly now Jamaica, in order to reach to the next level. Like I was honored where Shanae, I introduced her to my former coach, Coach Lance Brahman. And also I know Coach Gary Evans, who's also Stevie's coach. And, they're a testament, just like how in the past, Frank, Pauline, and all the people who were ahead of us, that it's all possible. The Bahamas is a very, talented community. The talent is there. But like Coach Yo said, is how are we gonna, enhance that talent and be able to bring more of our, athletes, whether it's swimming, basketball, baseball, track and field, to the rest of the world. Like Coach Yo said, I think there's so much more that we could actually do on that aspect to be able to, get Bahamians more scholarship overseas. And when they get the scholarship overseas, being able to bring them back. Because that's the one thing I've realized. And I mean, I happen to be one of those, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'll talk about it. I got my degree and, came over here to train and wanted to go back home to be able to impact and live in paradise and impact the Bahamians there. But like I said, it didn't happen that way. But how can we actually get a chance to change it? And that's what we're here to talk about. So hopefully, like I said, the talent is there. We just got to figure things out now to make it work where, Jamaica is doing it. Like Coach Yo says, from young, Carifta up until whatever the college stage and then world championship Olympic stage, they're getting it done step by step. And it'll be nice if we could actually follow pursuit, because at one point, the stories I hear was back in the 70s and early 80s, like the Bahamas used to win all the Carifta games, or most of them. And so the talent is definitely there.
Definitely. And Antoan, we have already mentioned Jazz, how he's really captured the imagination of Major League Baseball with his talent, with his potential. So what's your take on the state of Bahamian baseball talent?
Yeah, I think we're in a really good place, man. It's exciting for me, kind of like just watch it all unfold. Like I said earlier, when I got into it, it was 2 guys in professional baseball. Now I think we have like over 20 young men, and then even more in college and in high schools, and then even the youth leagues back home in Grand Bahama, Luther, Nassau. I think we're playing more baseball than we have ever played, at least from my existence, from the last 30 years or so. And so just to keep it short, I think we're in a good spot, and we have a lot of talent coming. I think, we see Jazz, we see the potential, but there's a lot of talent still in the minor leagues, working their way up to the major leagues. And, I'm really glad that it didn't take, 28 years for the next guy to get to the major leagues. And so I think it's going to be even a shorter span between the time it took, between me and Jazz. And so excited about the future of baseball for our country. But just like Debbie and Yo, I think there are some ways we can accelerate those processes, and excited about the possibility of making those things happen.
Great. So we just want to remind those watching us live on YouTube or on Facebook, if you have any comments or questions for our panelists, feel free to post them, and we'll try to share them with the panelists. But we all acknowledge that we have so much talent home across all of the sports that you guys are involved in. So what are the opportunities for mentoring, for training, for doing things that you guys have indicated are necessary to have our youth kind of achieve the professional success that we know that they can? What are the mentoring and training opportunities in your sport that Bahamian youth should be aware of? Coach Hill, we'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, that's a very deep and complicated question, because I'm going to talk about some of the things that youth can do, but I also want to challenge, and I hope we send this out to a lot of the grassroots coaches. to take advantage of some of the resources that are over here as well. There's so many coaching clinics. We have the Final Four convention. Coaches will open up their practices to allow it to be a learning lab. And you really just have to ask, seriously. And I think that no matter how much exposure one would get, they still have to go back home and they need someone to help them. You know, like Debbie, I would want to come home and really dig my hand into the grassroots level and give back all of the knowledge that I was afforded to get. That's difficult, just because I don't know if financially it just doesn't make sense right now. But at some point, I will want to come back home and do it. But I know that there are tons of opportunities for the coaches and the mentors back home that all have huge hearts. I see them outside working just like my dad, outside on these courts working, that if they were to just continue to work on their craft, they would be able to help these kids so much. That's first. Second, we have AAU. So that's exposure events that the Bahamian people, I know they do it for the boys. I've seen Daryl Sayers and a couple other people take teams over. Buddy started his own AAU program where they've been able to come over and travel. You don't know how big that exposure is to open windows for people to see them that maybe did not see them before. But I think those things are extremely important. And those are resources that we have. And then I think there's an educational part component to it that the Bahamian youth for basketball, I don't know about the other sports, need, so that they don't feel like their only way that they can have success is to start at a community college or maybe go to Canada to, you know what I mean? Like they're not taking advantage of the academic part because maybe they're unaware. So just knowledge is power, exposure is power.
And Antoan, what opportunities are there for mentoring, training in the Bahamas or overseas for baseball that youth out there interested in the sport should be aware of?
Yeah, kind of similar to Coach Yo. I think it's just the clinics and just the learning opportunities. We kind of talk a lot about it within our organization. There's a couple of organizations I've been a part of. It's just kind of searching those learning opportunities. Where it's the ABCA, which is a coaching convention they have like every single year. And I think for players, there's some local stuff in the Bahamas, right? I think at the beginning of it all, like even our local leagues, right? That's just giving you some basic understanding of what the game is. So someone who's just want to get introduced to it. And then I think there's some other organizations within the country. I think Max DI Elite that are, helping young players sign professional contracts, and also getting to schools that are given some advanced development opportunities. And then I think like right now it's just probably kind of leaning on the resources that we have, right? Like leaning on a Coach Yo, leaning on a Coach Debbie, and trying to figure out like, hey, how did their networks help that particular person? And so if I was giving advice to some young people, I would just say, kind of try to connect the dots to the coaches, because I know personally within the sport of baseball, I'll open my network to any Bahamian that wants an opportunity, and I feel very strong and feeling that the rest of us on this call would do the same thing.
Kind of following on from that, Antoan. I know that you one of the things back home is Project Limestone. I read that it started with a casual conversation between you and your cousin, about how heartbreaking it was to hear that young people and their families are making life-changing decisions about their future with limited resources and with limited information. So, can you talk a little bit about Project Limestone, and the work you're doing with that?
Yeah, sure. So Project Limestone, just a nonprofit that I founded with some other Bahamians, Bria DeVoe, Rashad Lang, and a young man, Sean Sands. And the intentions was just honestly to create access, right? I think one of the greatest things that we could provide people is access. We had Debbie talk about it, Yo talk about it, hear about the talent, but when you don't have access to cultivate that talent, it's challenging, and it's also discouraging at times. And so we just wanted to really create a platform that is going to create access for our young people, for Bahamians, to make sure that like whatever talent they have, that they could maximize that opportunity, and whether it's to get an education, whether it's an opportunity just to travel, whatever it may be, it's just creating opportunities for them to maximize that. And so as student athletes, we knew it was going to be important to like facilitate programs in both areas. So from athletic standpoint, we just want to create opportunities for athletes to learn a sport. We started with baseball, and our goal is to continue to add other sports. And then from an academic standpoint, we've been doing some STEM initiatives, science, technology, engineering, and math, and introducing young people to those concepts as we live in an ever-changing world. And just trying to help our country and our young people be better prepared to approach this global change that we face every single day.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. And I noticed that you do focus both on baseball and STEM training. Why was it that you decided to focus on both of those elements? Why do you see doing both of that as important for training youngsters?
Well, one, I think that education is a really powerful tool. I also I was an engineer, and so I think the engineer part of me was like, hey, how do you get this stuff involved? But I think the second piece, the other part to it is, right, like I think we all, like a lot of athletes have this dream, and they start to play like, I want to be the next like LeBron James, Debbie Ferguson. You know what I mean? I want to be get to the top of the mountain. But the reality of it is there's a small percentage of us that get to that point. And so I think the other part to it is incorporating an academic piece to it is just to kind of also show our young people that there are different avenues to still be a part and connected to that sport. And so within baseball, like you don't have to be a player to be involved in sport. We have like different jobs in terms of analysts and people that scout and people that general managers, just so many different roles. And I think it was just important to like create platforms for young people to understand that like, hey, if I don't reach this goal of being at the top, I can still be a success and still have an impactful role to play in the sport that I love. And so that was one of the main reasons we felt it really important to connect the two.
That's good stuff, man. And before we go to you, Debbie, just want to bounce back to Coach Yo. I know that you were involved with a program back home, Back to Basics. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the work that you were doing there?
Yes. Well, back to Basics is it's an organization. It's a foundation that I had formed to be able to help youth through sports and education. But because of the NCAA rules, I had to put that aside until I'm done. We have so many rules by the NCAA, and I didn't want to jeopardize my position as a coach in this in the athletic part of the realm. So I had to put it on the back burner. But now I have a foundation called No Ceilings with Coach Yo Foundation, which is more focused on women's empowerment. And I've been able to use it for hurricane relief as well, which has been something that has been great for me. So Antoine has more freedom because he don't have rules, but me and Debbie, we got rules. So right now, I'm not able to utilize it as much as I want. But I know with No Ceilings with Coach Yo Foundation, I've been able to do a lot of stuff back home in Freeport with the hurricane relief. Um, we raised over $100,000, and I think we spent probably given anywhere from 65 to 70,000 back. And COVID stopped it, so we're gonna go back and do some stuff with that. And then what I plan to do with this new foundation that I have is to have workshops for coaches and start to empower our people back home to give them the tools and skills to be able to empower the youth instead of just sending them over to God knows who and God knows where. Just giving them the power on how we can build the infrastructure back home because we have the talent and coaches go wherever the talent is.
Okay, and Coach Debbie, can you talk a little bit about opportunities for mentoring training and track?
Okay, so I think it's a little bit different. Like now, I don't remember anything being like organized as far as, to be able to go and mentor. Like, yes, Shanae and Stevie won. There was a parade and everything else, but after the parade, like there was nothing organized to say, well, okay, we're gonna do this, plan this, let's go see all these kids. I remember in my era, I felt like it was my duty when I won a medal or, it gave you that platform where whenever I came home, I wanted to see how many schools, whether it's high school, primary schools, that I could attend. And that was a form of like trying to mentor the kids and, trying to get them excited and get them involved and be excited about track and field. It's not like Coach said, for track, it's not only D1 school. You have D2, D3, you have NAIA. At the end of the day, a scholarship is a scholarship. You even have I've known some Bahamians who have music scholarships. But it was one of those where in that sense, I used to try to make it as many schools as I can in my off time to see if I could get the kids encouraged. So that form as far as that mentoring. I don't know what's going on now because I'm not sure what Shanae and Stevie were able to do, with the double gold, being the double gold medalists and Olympic champions. But hopefully, in my humble opinion, I'm hoping this will be a good opportunity for the Bahamas government to be able to, to get involved. It's more than the parade. It's more than, everything else, but trying to get that message. I think Coach Yo said something very important. Back in my era, most of the coaches that I remember dealing with, they did it for the love of it. I didn't have the funds or couldn't afford it to pay them to coach us, and they did it for the love of it. Nowadays, we have a lot of coaches who I'm glad that they're actually doing it, but it's more so like all about the funding. Yes, it's important, getting paid. But in my humble opinion, I'm thinking if the government get a chance to involve, into this process from the grassroots, where they're the one who making sure the coaches that we have at home are, for one, they're knowledgeable, they're accredited. So whether you're bringing people in to be able to teach them, it's probably cheaper that way than sending everybody out. But you could teach them as far as what needs to be known to become accredited, and then maybe a small stipend for their club, whether it's track, baseball, basketball, or swimming, to be able to keep the coaches going, excited, and having them to be able to teach the kids. I think in that sense, we bring a little bit more of it back to the basic and at every level. And so there are too many gaps right now for some sports. There's too many gaps. And like we talked about earlier, a lot of our kids feel like we have to leave the Bahamas, the beautiful Bahamas, to go overseas in order to be a success. So we got to be able to bridge that gap with that mentoring, and then be able to bridge that gap with that knowledge of, getting the kids at that level where they could get scholarships to be able to, if it's nothing else, to get that degree. Go ahead and compete for the college, get that degree. But that's important to start from there. But I hope I answered that question correctly.
Yeah, definitely. And you jumped into something that we definitely want to talk about. You know that we have a new Bahamian government that's literally just been sworn in back in Nassau. In fact, I think the cabinet has just started to be announced today. So Debbie, you've already started talking about that we do a little bit. If there was one thing back home, or have the government do better to support athletes, with you, Coach Yo? And you don't have to limit it to, if you don't want to.
Oh, repeat that question for me, please. Sorry.
I said if there was one thing that you could change back home or have the government do better to support athletes in your sport, what would that be?
I honestly would say what I mentioned before. To get, like I said, a lot of the coaches back then, they did it for the love of it without being rewarded for anything. And they just did it because they love what they did. In this era, I would like for the government to be more involved as far as, you have the primary level, the high school level, and being able for them to grow at the primary school level, to grow at the high school level. And so when they get to the high school level, they're able to, the talent that we are, the coaches come and be like, okay, look, we have this athlete here. It's not just one, it's not just two, but a plethora of athletes who qualifies to be able to go and get scholarships. I know at the professional level, the government is involved with the pro athletes. So it's almost like they waited until you've become good and then they jump on board to support that. But in my humble opinion, I honestly also think it would be a little bit better if you're able to develop from the ground and build on that foundation, and then being able to make that opportunity a little bit wider for everyone. I've known there are athletes in the Bahamas who qualified, to be able to get scholarships or whatever the case is. However, some of the areas, if you don't have the money right now to be able to join a certain club, or being coached by a certain coach, you're not going to make it. So I think that kind of level the opportunity and make it a little bit fair if you dealt with it from the coach's aspect, and make it fair for everyone as far as from the government. And that's where the government can come in with the financial assistance. It doesn't have to be huge, but the little that they would be able to do will make it a big difference, because I think if you invest in the track club and the coaches making them accredited, I think that will go a longer way, I think.
Okay, thanks. Coach Yo? One or several things that you want changed though?
How much time I got? No. Here's the thing. I don't know how this popped up on my Twitter timeline the other day, but it was after the Olympics, and someone tweeted, "Why should the Bahamas government invest in the youth in sports, to just celebrate them?" And I was so offended because I think everybody knows that sports is so powerful and can be spread amongst all nations, all races. I can't tell you how much between Buddy, Jonquel, myself, all these college athletes over here, 242 to the world, 242 to the world, like putting the flag out. You know, I don't understand from an exposure standpoint why this person would have felt it was a waste. And then I know for a fact, all of us contributed over $100,000 to the hurricane relief in the Bahamas, and not where we don't know where it went. We know where it went, because we were boots on the ground in the community, giving resources from what we've gotten over here back home. Everyone knows that Fortune 500 companies hire athletes. The Bahamas is the only place where you can do well, and then you come back and they tell you overqualified. I think the Bahamas government will have more success. Their crime rate will go way down. There are a plethora of things that sports and serious investment in sports, just like they invest in Carnival, just how they invest in all these things, what it would do for a country. These are future leaders we talking about. Anybody that is in high-level athletics know sacrifice, know discipline, they know commitment, they know how to get down and fall down and get back up. They know how to be professional. I mean, this is why my daughters are in sports. I don't care if they don't ever play a lick in college, but they're going to learn team. They're going to learn empathy. They're going to learn camaraderie and resilience. That is what sports provides. So the fact that we are not investing seriously, man, like serious investment in athletics in the Bahamas, to me, it is an abomination. It is a pocket that is not being utilized. You got people, here's the thing, Lord forgive me, but these people that have in tournaments in our country are not Bahamian. They making millions of dollars. We coming down the one. We're paying six-figure numbers to come down to play in the Bahamas, staying in these hotels and stuff. The exposure that is there is immense. But we go and we won a gold medal Caribbean basketball tournament. I was rooming with two other people. My players, 4 in a room, 2 beds. Like, are you kidding me? Imagine if we had really made the investment that we needed to make. Would Jonquel Jones feel like she needed to be a part of the Bosnian nation? Is this a joke? She is one of the best players in the country and had to go do something else to be able to make a living. I just think we missing the mark. There are so many avenues athletics can take you, from exposure to future leaders to just a better nation. If anybody in the PLP party hear me, don't mind these colors, these Ole Miss colors, no offense, right? I'm bipartisan, non-bipartisan, no vote. But listen, I'm for the people. And we have to invest in athletics. And you would be surprised what will come. These people want to come back. Their doors will be open, and it will make the country a better place. Sorry for my speech. I'm passionate about this. I really think we missing the mark, because you cannot be in athletics in the United States and you don't have education. You have to have the education. So these ain't dumb jocks. These are educated individuals that has a God-given talent that can come and run a bunch of these corporations back home, but don't get the opportunity. So that's my 2 cents. Let me stop because I feel a spirit moving and I want Antoan and Debbie to get it.
I
Hey,
think,
vote for me 2045. I'll be back. Vote for me then.
hey, no, I think that was all well said and necessary. Anton, what about you? What's something that you would like changed back home to expand opportunities for aspiring baseball players?
Um, I think Debbie and you hit like the marks on a lot of stuff, man. But I think the one thing I think we could do is just get the right people in the room, right? And I think what I mean by that is like you just heard Yo just now just like drop all kind of knowledge on us, right, about some stuff. And I think when we having conversations about these things and how to move these things forward, like just make sure the right people in the room. We have like these people in the Bahamas that these Bahamians that have immense experience and knowledge in these different areas. And so I personally would be an idiot if I had a young daughter that wanted to go to college and I didn't talk to Yo or Debbie about like the process to help them get to college, right? Like, and so I just think that we have to make sure, like, when we're making these decisions with athletics and how to push them forward, like, make sure you have the right people in the room. There's no reason we should be talking about basketball, and Yolett is not in that conversation at any high level in the Bahamas. We shouldn't be talking about track and field, and Debbie's not in that conversation. And so, we should, so I just think, we have to kind of really think about the purpose and objective, and if the objective is to help the people, right? Like let's step aside and recognize who the people who have the most information and knowledge to make that happen. Just make sure they're in the room. They don't. I'm pretty sure, like, we don't want to take the shine. We just want to make sure that, like, as a country, we taking the right steps that's going to help our people. So the one thing I would say is just encouraging people in power that are making decisions. Get the right people with the right information that actually have a real opportunity to push that agenda forward for you, especially when they're passionate about the country and willing to help you basically push the country forward.
And Mikhail, they will listen and they will do the press conference. And then as soon as you leave, they on to something else. We need the right people in the room and committed people in the room that are ready to do. Let me tell you something. My donors here at Ole Miss, they don't play. When it's something I want, they write the check. Like, they don't play around with this stuff. You get what I'm saying? They don't say, "Oh, yo, that's a great idea." And then no, they back it. So we need action, man. We've been having these conversations. We need action. But the right people need to be in the room too.
Agreed. So we didn't want to close out day without hearing from some of those who are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. So we have a question here for, I guess it's a two question here for all of you, and I think it'll come up on the screen as well. So our watch actually is saying thank you for this amazing panel. Are there sports where you feel as if there is untapped Bahamian potential? That's the first question. And what is one piece of advice for aspiring collegiate, professional, Olympic athletes that you guys would give? And so perhaps we'll start with you, Debbie.
Okay, yes. As far as untapped, I would say possibility football. You never know. It's huge in the States, and I think we have a lot of Bahamians who are capable of learning the sport, but you got to start from young. So that'll be one sport that's untapped I think we could do well in. And as far as what is one piece of advice for aspiring collegiate professionals, I think just like parents, they care about their kids. So what they've experienced, they try to teach their kid what to do or what not to do. If you are aspiring in that area, I say talk to somebody who's been there before. And your path our journey might be different, but some of the stuff they could teach you that is going to be similar, where you could either avoid or you might want to take that path. So I'm just saying, like, just being able to talk to somebody who's being honest with you, like a mentor, and just having somebody to talk to. It's not always peaches and cream. There are downs and there are highs and there are sometimes lows, but it's always easy when you're on the high. People are there for you, but when you're on the lows, it gets challenging. And I think that's when you need people the most. So being able to find somebody who you could talk to, a mentor who's been there, to be able to bounce things off.
Okay, Antoan?
Sports that are untapped. I think anything that we don't do, because as we see, like, we are a talented group of people. Lacrosse, rowing, anything that can give you a chance to, like, get an education and then kind of see how your future takes off from there. And then the one piece of advice is, I know, it's tough, right? Because I've been in the spot where I've been home and trying to figure out, like, how is this dream gonna come to fruition, with all the obstacles in front of me, knowing that, like, if I want to play baseball after a certain age, I just don't have that opportunity to do it no more on the island. And as cliche as it might sound, or as hard as it might be, it would encourage them just to kind of hold on to that dream and continue to, like, do everything they can to continue to, like, chase that dream. And then just recognize, like, I think what Debbie talked about is just being willing to have conversations and learn from people that have experience in that sport. And just recognize, man, like, this is not easy. It's not easy to be a college athlete, not easy to be a professional athlete. It's a small percentage of people in the world that get that opportunity. So don't take it for granted, and understand that, like, if you really want to do something like that, it's going to take some dedication, hard work, because you're going to be a select few of people in the whole entire world, and a small percentage that get that opportunity.
Okay, and Coach Yo, your thoughts?
What they both said.
All right. So we'll have one more question from our live audience that's live with us. This from what's the best advice to parents who are contemplating sending their young kids to elementary or secondary schools outside of the Bahamas in order to take advantage of sporting opportunities? So perhaps we'll start with you, Coach Yo.
Oh, Mia, shout out to Mia. That's my girl. That's a tough question. Here's my advice as a mom of two. I think that if you are going to send your child and outside of the Bahamas, I think that you need to make sure that it's age appropriate. Like, no use you sending them super early for what, like, those are just raw skills and talent as long as they're active. I hope this is not an unfair advantage, but I know McFit Sports, Jimmy is one of probably the best trainers in the world. And he's in Nassau. And so, and I've seen him do work. I've personally worked out with him. And so I know that he's a high level trainer, Bowflex, Barbie. Like, there are people that can train your kids at a young age. Now, when they're getting ready to get into high school, that's a whole different, it's almost, that's why I hope we can make a change. But if not, 8 games, say your daughter were to play basketball, 8 high school games is a joke. My daughter is U12, and they got like 20 scrimmages in soccer. So that is not enough. So that is when it needs to start getting serious. But I just think the core values, the culture what they learn from being home, that's essential too. You know, respect, figuring out who they are. You know, I think that's extremely important. But and just get them the proper training. There's proper training back home. There are some guys out there working out. I mean, there's proper training, not a lot, but there is enough there. But when it comes to exposure and playing team, you have to consider it unless something changes, unfortunately.
Okay. And
Mikhail, I think you break it up a little bit, but Debbie, I don't know if you could tackle it, Debbie.
Okay. I think the best advice I would give to parents would be more so on the safety part. Back in the days, we could have said whether it's for your daughter, but now it doesn't matter. It's for your daughter or your son. You have to make sure that the environment that you're sending them to, the entourage around them, is one that's going to love them, no matter what, is going to, take care of them no matter what. Because, being a young person in a whole different country, a whole different environment, and having somebody that's supposed to be taking care of you who actually end up taking advantage of you, that's horrible. So I just want to make sure, as far as the parents, is to make sure that you're sending your kid in a safe, loving environment, who, yes, you may not be there as a parent physically, but the people you're sending them to are a good fit to take that role as, guardians. So more from a safety issue.
okay, and last but not least, Antoan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said up to this point. And I think the thing that we can't discredit is the transition from like the Bahamas to another place. I just remember leaving at 14 and how, like, up to the day, that's been the most challenging part of my life for the first year and a half of that experience. And so I just say, make sure you do your due diligence, because I don't think just sending your child to a school in the States doesn't mean that it's better. I think, to Yo's point, like, there are a lot of qualified people in the Bahamas to help your children get better. And so I would first and foremost make sure that I have, like, gone through that process of seeing, like, what are my local opportunities to help my child achieve their goal. And then when you have exhausted that, then I would say I would start consider options outside of the country. And then too, like, once again, lean onto these resources that you have here in terms of like, hey, like, what are next steps that you probably think we should be taking or whatnot. I know personally for me, I'm pro Bahamian, and I know personally working on a project that my hope is that, like, children don't have to leave the Bahamas and people want to come back to the Bahamas, right? And so it breaks my heart. Even like having to answer this question really breaks my heart, because like, that's just not something I want for the people of our country to have to feel as if, like, they have to leave, because the reality of it is everybody is not going to have the opportunity to leave. I just remember growing up, the reason I was able to go to these schools because I got, like, full scholarships, like, and I didn't have to pay anything, because if I had to pay $1, like, I would not have been able to leave. And so it's just really important. For me, I'm just all about people staying home and people coming back home. And so I know personally, do everything in my power to try to help that situation, so we don't have to ask this question anymore. But in the meantime, let's do our due diligence. Let's lean on all the resources we have locally, incredible resources, right? Like, don't, like, and I don't mean to insult anybody here, but just because someone played a sport does not make them a credible source in terms of knowledge and coaching. That doesn't make me a credible source either. So just make sure you do your research in who's a credible source when you're thinking about the future of your children.
I think that was well said. And so, in order to close things out, I'll give you each just a minute to share any last words of advice or encouragement that you have for the Bahamian youth who are listening in, who are aspiring to to one day sit in the seats that you guys sit in. And also, please feel free, if you'd like, to share, your contact information or contact information for foundations or other things you're associated with that you might want people to check out. So we'll start with you, Debbie.
Well, I just want to share, as far as for me, for any student out there who want to become a student athlete, whatever the sport is, basketball, baseball, swimming, you name it, for track and field, like, we know hard work is a part of it. You dream a part of it, discipline, character, integrity, all that stuff, and just being relentless, never giving up, always trying to find a way, because where there's a will, there's always a way. You'll have a lot of setbacks, but you don't let that stop you. They said with every setback, there's a greater and bigger comeback. And so just got to be able to find out the people. Like I said, there's some clubs in the Bahamas right now, as far as for track and field, who are doing well, who have credible coaches. You just got to be able to sort them out and be able to get the opportunity to try be coached by them, and then asking questions, because they know a lot of coaches over here, and just being developed, making sure you're taking care of your academics. That's number one. Without the academics, you don't have the athletics. And you put that one first, and everything else will, flow smoothly afterwards. So that's my advice to you.
Antoan?
I think I have a message to our leaders and the people in a position to help, and it's more of a plea to really let's do our best to kind of get behind these initiatives to really help our youth and try to see how it could be transformational to our country from more than just an athletic standpoint, right? And winning gold medals, or like being in the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, but how it could actually like transform our economy, and it is something that could be sustainable and allow Bahamians to come back home and share their knowledge, their wealth of knowledge with our people, and create a culture and community of Bahamians taking care of Bahamians. And so just a plea to like those that are interested to continue to have the conversation. And as Yo talked about, like, let's start to take some action as best as we can to kind of move the needle for our future. Because it's been way too long that we're kind of sitting in a similar situation. I left over 10 years ago, and I feel like the student that's my same age when they left are in the same situation. And so, and I'm holding and this message to myself as well, in terms of making this change. So that's my last word for the audience.
And Coach Yo?
Yes. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this panel. The guests didn't get to see this, but I was bowing down to Debbie and Antoan before this all started. Antoan, I know how it is to be one of the first coaches, and you're really a trailblazer and a trendsetter, and you gave me inspiration today, because I didn't know of it, because I'm not really into baseball, but now I will. Look forward to supporting you. And Debbie, you're at Kentucky, so it just depends. No, I'm gonna always support you. You were one of my idols growing up, and I wasn't really good at track. But for me, it's just, I want to just encourage the people that listen to this and tune into this, whether it's live or late on, and you have kids. I want to encourage you to push them. I want to encourage you to challenge them to be focused on their academics. I want to encourage you to tell them that whatever it is that they want to achieve, they really can, because where there's a will, there is a way. And I truly believe that. I did not leave to pursue my goals. I played college basketball, and God always had this plan for me. And so there are opportunities out there. I also want to encourage the parents to invest more in their children. I know there is a Bahamian way of, let me just let the coach have it and they figure out the way. One thing I know, and I'm not judging because I know it's tough, but I see people over here sacrifice their whole lives for their kids, and their kids end up being NBA players and stuff like that. So it kind of works out. But if you can support them more than just telling them that they can go play, go to their games, speak life into them. And then for any government or any person of influence or any coaches, we cannot give up on these kids. We have to be better so that they can be better. Um, and I truly believe that if we as a country and adults invest in these children more, the Bahamas will be a better place. And that is my hope.
I could preach right there.
Yes,
what's up.
thank you. Thank you to you all. And with that, we will bring today's conversation to a close. We want to thank our legendary coaches and former athletes who joined us as panelists today, Debbie, Antoan, and Coach Yo. Each of you are an inspiration to Bahamians, young and old, as you are all living proof of the success and breaking of barriers that is possible with hard work and with determination. Thanks for the wisdom you all shared and for the recommendations for how we can improve the environment for our sports talent in the Bahamas. And Antoan, as well, we wish you and your Giants every success in the upcoming MLB playoffs. We thank those of you who joined us as a part of our live audience today, and I hope you leave as inspired and as informed as I have been. We invite those of you who have joined us live or who are watching this recording to check out our website, www.baawmar.org, or like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram to keep track of our work. Our next event will be the association's virtual general meeting on October 10th, where we will discuss our plans for the rest of the year. Please save the date for that. And until then, stay safe and healthy out there, and we wish you all a happy and successful week ahead. Take care, everyone.